Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from around the world. Um, it is really wonderful that we are continuing with our program. We have been doing this now for a few weeks, almost 2 months since we started this program. The only reason why we are able to continue it and sustain it is really because of your support, as I keep mentioning. What we are doing and the reason we are doing it is to build awareness to educate the people of South Sudan on the challenges that our nation face. Our country, South Sudan, is facing a lot of problems, a lot of challenges. We have insecurity. In fact, this yesterday and today, we have been hearing of fightings that are going on all over the country since the beginning of the new year. You know very well what happened between the Biar community and the Twitch Mayadit community. That conflict is getting extremely dangerous and worrisome. As we speak, there is fighting that is going on in Duke County, in Jonglei State, between the Dingabor youth from Duke, as well as the Murule community or the Murule youth that have attacked the area. These are the realities that the country is facing. All over the country, in the urban areas, in the urban centers, there are issues of economic difficulties that are being faced by the South Sudanese people across the entire country. These challenges, as you know, are quite large. They're enormous, and they affect the stability of our country. They also affect the lives of our people and and the quality of life that they can have. We have issues of poor governance in the country, as you know very well. Services are not being delivered. Salaries are not being delivered. Health, education, all of these are indeed quite a large challenge. I'm hearing that the sound is having a problem, but this is as loud as I normally speak, so I have no idea what is going on. Maybe if you can tune up your own volume. Otherwise, I don't know what is going on. We may have to restart this. But otherwise, if you can hear this message and the message is loud enough, then let us know. You can put it in the chat there. Okay, excellent. It seems like the sound is very good, and people are able to hear us. So we have all kinds of difficulties that the people of South Sudan are facing. Our people are really suffering, and anyone who is living in South Sudan can face and is experiencing these difficulties on a daily basis. This is the reason why we are doing this public education program, civic education program. Is not because I'm the one who is here to provide knowledge. What we are doing here, we are exchanging ideas. We are learning from one another. I'm learning from you, you are learning from me, and we are starting a conversation. We are talking with each other in the comment section. People are sharing their ideas. They are talking to one another. They are making comments. They're engaging each other in debate. This is what it means to build a nation, to build a new state like South Sudan. And we cannot do it without speaking. We have to speak up, even when people are uncomfortable or certain individuals do not want us to speak. It's not up to them. The nation does not belong to them. It belongs to each and every one of us. And the least we can do is to participate. That is the least we can do, to at least share our thoughts so that people also know where we stand on things. As you know very well, South Sudan is facing one of the largest humanitarian crises that we have never faced since the CPA. In fact, this year, 2024, more South Sudanese are projected to die of hunger than they last died of hunger in 2004. That was the year that the war ended with the signing of the comprehensive ceasefire, and then later on the signing of the CPA in January. So for the first time in nearly 20 years, more South Sudanese people are projected to die of starvation. You know the situation in Sudan that has completely destroyed that country. A lot of our South Sudanese people who were living there as refugees are now being forced to return back to South Sudan. Every single day, the conflict in that country is getting closer and closer to the border, and a lot of South Sudanese people are being forced to return to the country. Our own government has not allocated any resources at all to receive these people and to be able to protect them and to provide them with services that can allow them to live a sensible life. That has not happened. And as you know very well, the humanitarian organizations, the donors that have been feeding the people of South Sudan over the last 40 years, they have now decided that they're going to reduce the amount of support that they're giving to South Sudan. And they expect the government of South Sudan, which has been using the oil revenues to enrich only a few people, to step up and to take care of the humanitarian situation. You saw what the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs said last time when he was in Geneva. He made it very clear that the government has no intention, rather ability to do that. And it's not because the money is not there. It's simply because the priorities of the government are not with helping the people. They're not about ensuring that the people of South Sudan are well taken care of. The intention of the government is to continue to loot the resources, especially through the fake road projects that are being built and that are going nowhere, but basically are a racket for which the public resources of South Sudan are diverted, primarily through ARC. And as you know very well, ARC is not a company that has won any of these contracts through competitive bidding. They were allocated all of these contracts by President Kiir directly. And that is because he's actually the owner of the company. Bolmil is a manager who manages the company for him. And when they have taken the money is basically brought back to him at night. This is what has been happening now for many years. All the people of South Sudan knows this, but we will continue to repeat it so that everybody get it. Our borders, as you know very well, are being encroached upon by all the neighboring countries with the direct complicity of President Kiir himself. You saw this during the East Africa community gathering in Uganda, where President Kiir blessed the new borders of South Sudan, in which large territories of South Sudan, larger than the state of Rwanda and Burundi combined, were basically taken by Kenya and Uganda. On the side of Kenya, the entire Elemi Triangle was annexed. This is the entire territory of Nyangatom. It was annexed by Kenya. The same thing on the side of Uganda, large part of Morobo, large part of Kejekeji, large part of Chukudum and the Dinga territory were annexed by Uganda, including places like Magalatoria, where a lot of South Sudanese people lived during the war, and including the place where John Garang crashed. All these territories now have been annexed, including, by the way, where the SPLM first convention of 1994 was held, Moya Sukun. That place now has been completely annexed by Uganda, and a map of East African community was launched by President Kiir himself. So he essentially blessed this terrible arrangement. So we have to be talking so that we educate our people, we open their eyes to understand that the government that they fought for and that they have supported for so long is not for them. This government is in complicity with foreign actors, with foreign individuals. It's a government that is basically selling the country. Resources of the country has been sold. You know very well the oil has been sold in advance. The money has already been divided by President Kiir and those individuals that are around him. You will also know very well that the water of South Sudan has been sold to Egypt. In fact, South Sudan right now is behaving as if it is a colony of Egypt, and the Egyptian interest in the country is rapacious. It's not even about protecting South Sudan or making development in South Sudan so that the South Sudan benefit its own people. It's about ensuring that Egypt controls South Sudan. You know very well that the borders, as I just mentioned, the land is being sold to Kenya. President Kiir and the people around him are buying massive houses in foreign countries. He has a huge mansion in Morocco. This was a palace that used to be used by one of the kings. This palace now has been renovated and it has been built, and it is for him. In Ethiopia, on a private lake, he has a large house that has more than 22 rooms, more than 15 bathrooms, and all kinds of luxuries that are there. These are the realities, my people. And if we don't speak about it, we will not change anything in this country. As we have been saying, this year, 2024, is the year that we are going to take back our country, and is a year that people of South Sudan must be prepared to take all necessary actions to make sure that South Sudan is freed and that South Sudan is able to provide for its own people. So this is the reason why we have been going live. We have been doing this public education program. We are talking to our people. And there are people that say, why are we talking live? Why are we not in the country? These are people that are not honest. These are people that do not really understand what they are talking about. Right now in Juba, we have all kinds of opposition leaders in the country, and they are not talking. Why are they not talking? They are not talking because these people, they know that in the country there is no freedom of speech. They know that if I was in Juba today and I was doing what I was doing, I would likely end up at the Blue House under detention. This is the reality. That is why all the opposition leaders that are in Juba currently are quiet. They cannot do rallies. They cannot even speak live the way that I am doing because they are afraid. Environment of fear has been created. Fear has been injected into every single individual. And my people, if we were afraid like the way we are, we would have never liberated this country. We would have never completely liberated South Sudan. South Sudan was liberated because people were courageous. People were willing to take risks. People were willing to make the sacrifices that are necessary for the nation to be free. So we have to remember that. You can never have a nation of free people that is made up of cowards. If everybody is a coward and is afraid to take any risky action, then the nation will be a nation of slaves. And that is what South Sudan is being reduced to, slaves that are only psychopaths, that are only singing song of praises for Salva Kiir and for individuals that are in power. So that is the situation. So we as young people of South Sudan in particular, we have to know that our childhood was wasted by war, but we cannot continue to allow our youth and adulthood to also be consumed by war and by these old people that are intending to waste the resources of South Sudan. So that is why we are doing this. So thank you very much. Let me ask those of you that have joined, my people, share the video as much as you can so that other South Sudanese people can join the program and they can be part of it. Please share it on your timeline, share it on Messenger, share it on WhatsApp group, send it to different WhatsApp group so that South Sudanese people can come and join. And I'm really grateful for those of you who are doing so. And also remain engaged. If there are people that are ignorant, that are writing ignorant comments, let us educate them. Let us educate it in a good way. Let us not be emotional. Let us not try to be offensive. Let us have a conversation, because there are a lot of people that are ignorant. And there are a lot of people that are blinded by regionalism, by tribalism, and by sectionalism. And that is the topic of our discussion today. We are going to talk about how we as people of South Sudan have to overcome these challenges, the challenge of regionalism, the challenge of tribalism, and the challenge of sectionalism. Because without that, South Sudan has no chance. We cannot build a nation called South Sudan if we remain locked in that thinking that we are a tribe, we are from a certain tribe, or we are from a certain region, or we are from a certain clan, and that our clan is everything. We have to overcome that mindset. And it is very important that we as young people of South Sudan truly understand where we might begin to have this change, because it is necessary that we have this change. The idea that is South Sudan is a new idea. It's a very new idea. It's a very new idea, but it's a promising idea. It's an idea that is greater than our tribes. It's an idea that is greater than our regions. It's an idea that is greater than our sections. And if we want to be great people, we can only be great with South Sudan. You cannot be great as a Sholo or as a Taposa or as a Nuer or as a Dinka. This does not mean that those communities are not great. They are great communities. They have done wonderful things in the history in their histories and in all the struggle that they have faced. Each one of them, they can narrate to you where they come from, the great thing that they have accomplished. But for us, what is really important is about building the nation, coming together as a one people of South Sudan, working for an idea that is South Sudan, and ensuring that this South Sudan is something that is great, because it is through South Sudan that each and every one of us can achieve their full potential. It's not going to be through regions. It's not going to be through tribes. It's not going to be through clans. Certainly not. If we do that, South Sudan itself will not exist. Believe me, if we continue to hold on with to our sections, to our tribes, and to our regions, South Sudan will not exist. Now, let me start by saying there is nothing wrong to be proud of your clan. These are things that have always been there in our history as African people, and not just only African people, people of the world. The ways in which societies used to be organized was through clans, and essentially also through tribes. This is why even in Europe, you hear of Anglo-Saxon, you hear of the Dutch, you hear of the Frank. These are essentially bigger tribes that then morphed into nation. So there is nothing wrong with the clan. Clan has always been there. And they come from a family origin. People that come together either by blood or by language or by assimilation to be one clan. And they bond together as a way of protecting themselves. You know very well in the history of mankind, it has taken a while for all these kind of revolutions that we see today and the modern world to emerge. Back in the days when people were in jungles and all of that, the situation required people to band together. And the easiest way to do that was around the blood, because your own blood will protect you. Each clan will want to ensure that their bloodline remain. That was back then. Then as complexities emerge, especially as human beings develop agriculture and farming communities, they are able to settle down, they're able to domesticate animals. Then the situation began to change. It began to change because now they had to build something bigger than the clan. And when you have people that are assembled in one place, not every single person can be a hunter and a gatherer or be a farmer. There is a need now to provide for security. There is a need now to provide for public administration. So some people will have to produce surplus so that others will not necessarily need to farm or rear cattle or rear goats. They had to do other things, including by providing security so that those who are farming will have the security that they need to farm, so that those who are raising animals will have the security that they need to raise those animals. Because without that, you're going to have a society of chaos. You're going to have a society of kleptocracy, where every single clan will organize itself and it will be pillaging every other clan, the way that you see it now in South Sudan. So my people, this is part of the history of how societies change. And once the societies change, especially if you look at the development in Europe, it went beyond that. It went beyond simply having one clan or community stay in their area. They have to now build complex habitations. They have to build cities. And when you build a city creates its own identity because it's a different complex environment than the environment that you have in the rural areas. because now all kinds of services have to be provided. And you need all kinds of people to perform certain functions to allow for this society to live in harmony and for productivity to be continued. That essentially is because of the cities that states eventually emerge. If you look, especially in Europe, how the modern state was formed, it was formed primarily because there were what was called the roving bandits. Roving bandits is essentially groups of bandits that are moving around, terrorizing people, pillaging the whatever they can find, taking it, and running away. Now imagine a society in which everybody is a roving bandit. Basically, you have bandits that will go and attack certain communities. They will attack certain communities, either they are raising animals or whether they are farmers. So you farm, and all of a sudden, a group of bandits will arrive. They will probably kill you and take all your things, run away. So next year, are you going to be able to farm? Are you even going to be able to keep your animals? No, you will not. Absolutely, you will not. Because what is the purpose of farming and doing all this work when someone else is going to come and take your things? So what happened essentially? What happened is that the roving bandit realized as they move around robbing and taking everything, productivity was going down. No one was producing anything anymore because people were discouraged to produce. Why spend months tilling the land, weeding the crops, and harvesting them, only for someone else to show up and take everything? So what did the roving bandit realize? They realized the way that they are doing things has to change. That the way that they were moving around, stealing everything, had to change because people were not going to continue producing under those conditions. So the roving bandits became stationary bandits. What happened with the stationary bandit? Well, didn't mean that the banditry ended. The banditry continued. But the banditry became more organized. As the bandit became a station, what they do is they will come to the farmer and say, okay, we know that you have to produce, you have to feed yourself and your family. So what we are going to do is we're going to take a certain percentage of everything that you produce, right? And these are violent people. They have tools of violence to be able to impose what they want to do. So what happens here? All of a sudden now, this became more understanding. You produce, and then the bandits are going to take a certain percentage. But they didn't just take and leave. They take and provide something even more. What did they provide? Well, suppose there is another roving bandit somewhere from a certain village, and they organize themselves, and they are coming now to attack these communities that they have established that are producing, and that they are paying them a certain percentage every month or every year. Well, then the stationary bandit now has a responsibility to provide protection, right? It's no longer the communities themselves or those who are farming or those who are keeping their livestock. They are not the only one now that has to defend themselves and to protect themselves on their own. They have now the support of the stationary bandit who takes certain percentage of their income every year or every month or every season that will now protect them against anyone else that want to come to that territory and take from them. In fact, stationary bandits became the government. And this percentage that they take every month or every season or every year became taxation, right? That is the origin of states, right? Is when really you have group of people that perform violence, understand that they cannot just loot everything, because if they loot everything, no one is going to produce. So then they have to create a way in which they can loot certain percentage so that the producers would still be able to keep something and therefore have incentive to continue the process of production, right? That is it. That is essentially how the modern state emerged. You know, that is how the modern state was born. Now, what is the problem in South Sudan? Excuse me. The problem in South Sudan is that you have a group of men that are violent that have continued to remain as roving bandits. They have refused to become stationary. They have refused to understand that they can take a certain percentage and use the other percentage to invest. And by the way, in the mind of the stationary bandit, when he takes this percentage, now all of a sudden he's interested. So let's say the farmer produced only 10 sacks of maize. And then he say, okay, I'm going to take 2 sacks. Every time you produce 10 sacks, I'm going to take 2 sacks. But imagine if the farmer now, instead of producing only 10 sacks, next year he produced 50. What happened? All of a sudden, because now the 50 has been produced, the number of sacks that the bandit is going to take is going to increase, right? It will now be 10 instead of just taking only 2. So the more that the producers produce, the more that the stationary bandit takes, even if the percentage remain the same. Now, what does the stationary bandit does with this? He uses them to provide for more security and to create conditions that can allow the producers to produce even more. So now you will have all of a sudden, instead of a vicious cycle in which people are just raiding one another, plummeting productivity, you will now all of a sudden have a virtuous cycle where by taking a certain percentages and using that revenue to invest in increasing the productivity, all of a sudden you will now create a virtuous cycle that can allow productivity and allow the government of the stationary bandit to become even more complex and provide even more services for the population that it controls. But what we have in South Sudan is a group of violent individuals that have completely refused to become stationary, to think about how they can actually increase the productivity of the people that they control. Think about it during the war, when the SPLA was fighting the war. SPLA will come to a community and they will say, okay, we are here, we are fighting the war, but we are going to provide you protection from the Sudanese government, but we need you to give us something. The policy at the time, as John Garang put it, was don't take it by force, but also don't let them refuse to give it to you, right? So it was very nuanced. So the idea then is you give them a certain percentage, they provide for protection, but what they forgot then was to create this virtuous cycle that I'm talking about. You take a certain percentage, but you just don't take it and you disappear with it. You know, you take a certain percentage, but you reinvest it within the society so that the productivity increase. That never happened in South Sudan. And that is why I have argued elsewhere that the SPLM has always remained a stationary bandit. Now, for us, as I said before, tribe or clan is something that is normal. We are all born within a certain family. That family belongs to a certain clan. That clan belongs to a certain tribe. That has always been the case in South Sudan. These are communities that have always existed. Now, because of the limited nature of the development in South Sudan, many communities do not even know each other. Take, for example, me, come from Bor in Jonglei. The only people that we knew before the war, really, and before we really have a deeper understanding of what was going on in South Sudan, were our immediate neighbors, you know? Our immediate neighbors. We had no idea about those who were far away from us. We didn't even know that they existed until later on when the War of the Liberation made it possible for all of us to know each other. Only the student at the time, which was only a small percentage of the population, had any idea of how diverse and complex South Sudan was. So we only grew up knowing those within our immediate borders. And obviously in every society there are stereotypes. You will say people like this are like this. These stereotypes are everywhere. Even here in America, there are stereotypes across race. So white people think of black people in America in a certain way. And black people in America think of white people in a certain way. And so on and so on. Those stereotypes are there. And sometimes when they are entrenched and they are fed with hatred and misunderstanding, they can create a situation that will make it difficult for a nation to come together. Certain group is going to think of themselves as superior than other group. One clan is going to think that they are more superior than another clan. Certain tribe is going to think that they are superior than other tribes, and vice versa. That is the way that it has always been in the case of South Sudan. And because of the stationary nature of the economic activities we rely on, because if you look at our entire history, before the recent oil, all we had was raising animal or farming. Those were the two things. And fishing. Fishing was always there. So these were the economic activities that were there. They were not very diverse in any particular way. And sometimes, because of the nature of those economic activities, it created rivalry. Because if you are all doing the same thing, especially in an environment where people rely on pastoralism, so you rely on livestock, there's going to be competition over water and pastures. And that, of course, is going to create conflict. There will always be opportunity for conflict. And through these conflicts, histories are made. More stereotypes are made. More grievances are built in. This was something that was always there. Now, our situation became more complex with the arrival of the Europeans in our land, and especially in South Sudan. They came and created modern, they call it modern administration, so in the form of regions. So regions were created. And if you look at the history of South Sudan, what we know today as Equatoria, for example, was not always Equatoria. What we know today as Upper Nile was not always Upper Nile. Not everything that is in there was always there. The same thing with Bahr Ghazal. Not everything that was always there was there. For example, part of Bor district used to be part of Equatoria. That is true. Parts of Lake State used to be part of Equatoria. So borders have changed. Certain part of Bahr Ghazal used to be part of Upper Nile. Certain part of Upper Nile used to be part of Bahr Ghazal. Districts have changed over and over and over and over again. These regions that we have now embraced so much, that people identify themselves with, that I'm from Equatoria, I'm from Upper Nile, I'm from Bahr Ghazal, these regions are a colonial invention. In fact, they mean nothing. In our local languages, they mean nothing at all. These were new layers that were created. And because of the fundamental problem of governance within the Sudan at the time, which rely, by the way, on politics of division. So if you look from the time that British were here, it was all about the division. From the time that the British left and the Arabs from the north took over, it was all about the division. These divisions only fuel those stereotypes, those grievances, those feelings of us versus the other that is still present today. And what is problematic and what is actually very painful was that our own people, when they took over the governance of South Sudan, they continue to use the same strategies of divide and conquer. So, and by the way, why is it effective? It's because it's not being created out of nowhere. Each of us knows that we come from a certain clan, we come from a certain tribe, and we come from a certain region. So it's always there, and we know the stereotypes about each of the different clans, different tribes, different regions. So we just feed into that. And those leaders, they see what is in our mind, and instead of helping us, helping our consciousness to rise to a national level, they only use what is already there to continue to divide the people so that the people do not see what they are doing. And they will continue looting the nation, doing all the terrible things that they are doing, because we are not paying attention as the people of South Sudan. That is why the divide and conquer has always worked. It has always worked because the people themselves, within them, the root of that division is inside. And if we don't begin to think about that, what is our own role in encouraging this politics of division that is all over the country, then we are going nowhere. It's not just about blaming the leaders that they are taking advantage of this division. Of course, they are taking advantage of this division. But what is allowing them to take advantage of that division is because the seed of that division is in each and every one of us. in some way in our own consciousness, we think because we come from a certain clan or a certain tribe or a certain region that we are better than others that come from other clans and other tribes and other regions. And then that make it easy for divisive politicians to build on that. It's the same way, by the way, when you see in a country like America, where there is element of racism, is because within the population, the seed of that superiority or inferiority complex are within each individual. So it's easy for the politician to capitalize on that. And then they use it as a tool to build their own power, right? So if you want to stop this, the first place where you have to start is the individual. And how you ensure that the individual is, first of all, aware, right? We can never remove these biases. Some of these biases are there, they're within us, and it's important to accept that these biases are there and they are part of human nature. But the first place where you begin is to be aware of these biases, that you are potentially capable of these biases. And you see this, by the way, with how we relate with one another. When you try to go and date a girl from a certain clan or a certain tribe or a certain region, you get a certain reaction. You know? If, like, say for today, like even from with my own story, when I married my wife, many of you know my wife she's a Nuer, and I'm Dinka. When we started, there is a certain reaction, right? Because I come from the other, right? I'm not from the immediate community or clan that she consider as her people, right? So it's important, first of all, to be aware of these biases, to know that potentially you can judge a book by the cover only without looking at the content. And to be aware that this is a wrong thing, so that you yourself in your own mind, you upgrade your own consciousness and to be aware of that. It's also important to know that your own parents are potentially also capable of building these biases, these stereotypes within you, right? Through their own advice. And it's not because they mean something bad. It's just the part of how they grow up, the part of how people are raised, you know, part of them making sense of their history and what they know. That happens. So if we want to root out sectionalism, tribalism, regionalism, then we have to be more critical than we normally are. We have to be critical of ourselves. We have to be conscious of what we hear from our own parents and from our own friends. This is very important, my people. Because if we don't do that, we will always be victim of this. We will always potentially be used. Imagine a country like Rwanda. How do people just wake up one day, people that have lived side by side for many years, and they start killing their neighbors because there are Hutus or there are Tutsis? How did that happen? It's because within each individual, this seed was already there. This flame was already there. It just needs someone to light it up. And when a politician come and light this up, you see societies go crazy. The same way when you see, for example, make sense of the history of World War II and what was happening in Germany. Jews were always part of the German society. But when Adolf Hitler came and these biases were already there, that have been laid already, the foundation for them exists, all he needed to do was take advantage of it and use fear. You know, fear is always the tool that politicians use to allow this to blow up. And you saw what happened, the Holocaust, where an entire German society thought it was okay to kill anyone that did not fit a certain standards. Blonde hair, white, blue eyes. That was it. If you didn't fit that, you were subhuman and you were not considered to exist. My people, we have to be aware of that. And we have to begin preparing our own mind not to become victims of that. Because what has happened in South Sudan is politicians have time and again used these biases that already exist within our society as a way of holding on to power, or privileging certain group over others, certain clans over others, certain tribe over others, certain regions over others. And that produced grievances. It produced grievances all the time, because whenever there is inequality, wherever there is injustice, people are going to react to it. Grievances would be built, and then when opportunities are right, things will flip. And it's easy for the societies to go overboard. So my people, we as young people of South Sudan, the challenge of removing this tribalism, sectionalism, and regionalism begins with each and every one of us, with the action that you take. And you have to free yourself of that, and you have to help people around you to open their eyes through not only your words, but your action. Your action must be exemplary. They must be contributing to building the nation, to building a new identity. We have to embrace our identity as South Sudanese. And it's not just simply by saying we are South Sudanese. Saying it is good. It's the first step. But we have to do more than that. We have to do more than that. Right now, we have a nation where certain groups feel like they are second-class citizens. And don't forget, the reason why we left the Sudan was because the idea that was Sudan was not made to work for everyone. It worked only for a very few. The Arabs, the Muslims, those who consider themselves to be the ruling class of Sudan. What did we do? We opposed that. For many years, we went to the bush. We died by the millions, and we did not give up until we left that, because we felt we were excluded. Now imagine in the current independent South Sudan. There are communities within South Sudan today that feel excluded from the idea that is South Sudan. There are certain tribes that feel excluded from the idea that is South Sudan. They feel treated like second-class citizens. They feel like their voice don't matter, that they have no room in this new republic that we have created. And also on the other side, there are groups, there are clans or communities that feel that they own South Sudan, that South Sudan belongs to them. And you see this by how they manage resources, by how they wield power. If you remember in our history, we have gone through very shameful episodes. A lot of things happened during the War of Liberation. I will not bore you with that. Many of you are aware what happened in the 1980s, what happened with the 1991, and all of those massacres that happened. But with 2013, what happened in 2013? What happened in 2013, if you remember very well, there was the Dinka Council of Elders. What was the point of that group? The point of that group was basically to create this false sense that the government is a Dinka government, that our president was being attacked by Nuer leader, Riek Machar, that our power was being challenged by Nuer. So the idea was to mobilize the Dinka, to make the Dinka feel they are the custodians of the new state, the Republic of South Sudan, and to frame Nuer as potential usurpers of their power. What did this produce? Especially when the president bought in. You remember the speech that he gave at Nyakuren Cultural Center when he invoked the history of the previous massacres that happened, particularly the 1991 massacres. That was a dog whistle. It was a dog whistle to all the Dinka people, especially the Dinka in Upper Nile, that experienced what happened in 1991. Obviously, what happened in 1991 was horrific. A lot of our people were killed. You know, many of us remember all the relatives that we lost. It was horrible. But we managed to overcome it. We managed to overcome it, and that is why we were able to reconcile and work together to create the independent South Sudan. But when the president directly reminded people of that, what was he saying? He was essentially saying, no room for forgiveness, no room for reconciliation. That my people, time for revenge has come. That was essentially what he was saying without saying it. And everyone heard that. So when the violence broke out in December 2015, the ground was prepared. And what was the result? The Juba massacres. We will never know the total number of people that were killed during those days in Juba. And there is no doubt about it. It was ethnically targeted killings. And it was organized by the state. And the president knew about it. And there was nothing that he did whatsoever to protect people. People went door to door, killing people because they were Nuer. Even people that didn't support Riek Machar. Even other Dinka that had the same scarifications, like the Nuer, were killed. That was it. So from raising our flag as a new independent Republic of South Sudan, within a very short time, we were able to degenerate to all, basically committing genocide against each other. Ethnic cleansing. That is what happened. And then what did that produce on the other side? Feeling of revenge. And that is why you saw immediately Dinkas from other areas that were controlled by Nuer suffered, because it became basically an ethnic war. It was no longer about politics. It was never about vision. It was never about anything else. Now, obviously, we can blame the leaders, and primarily President Kiir bear the greatest responsibility for those crimes that were committed in Juba at the time. But he could have not done it without us, without you and me, because of the grievances that we have in our mind and in our hearts, because of the biases that we had. Some of these biases had been born with us. Some of it, we built it over the course of our life. Some of it, we heard it from people we love, whether they are our parents or our relatives. These biases inform how we reacted to the messages that we were receiving from the leaders. So when the leader said, 91, our mind were already triggered. We knew exactly what that meant and what was expected of us to do. This is it, my people. So terrible things only happen because we are ready to receive that message. We are ready to be mobilized, to be used as a tool. And this is really the essence of what I'm trying to get across. It may sound like a very, theoretical talk today, but problem is not just only what the leaders are going to do. Every now and then, every country in the world, doesn't matter what stage of development you are on or what stage of nation building you are on. You will have good leaders and you will also have bad leaders. Even here in America, after 200 and almost 250 years of existence, they're getting good leaders, they're getting bad leaders. Every society is like that. But what will allow the society to remain together is the quality of consciousness of the citizenry. If the citizen is conscious, then they will be able to resist some of the terrible things that bad leaders would want them to do. In America, you remember the January 6th. That was a terrible moment in the history of this nation. But it happened because of the combination of both bad leader being there and also people being there to consume what he's telling them. And it's the same reason why the 2013 massacres happened. Is because bad leaders were there And people were ready to consume that toxic rhetoric that they were sending across. So if we want to protect this nation and to prevent it from episodes like what we saw in 2013, then we as citizens, we must raise our national consciousness. We must embrace this new experiment called South Sudan. And let everyone deliberately act to strengthen this new identity, because it will not grow on its own. If you leave it to the forces of nature, it's the tribe, the clan that are going to always dominate. And now, because of the politics of South Sudan, regions. So you have to go extra mile and be conscious to preserve this nation, right? That is the only way. You have to go extra mile to preserve this nation. If you just remain in your own tribal cocoons, you want to support Kir because he's from Awan Chan or he's from Gogrial. That's it, regardless of what he's doing. Then you are not helping this nation. If you want to support Riek Machar simply because he's a Nuer, and he's a Nuer from Adok, you are not helping this nation. If you want to support Peter Biar because he's a Dinka and a Dinka from Bor, just simply because of that, you are not helping this nation. You have to go extra mile and make yourself a conscious person. And you start with how you treat your fellow South Sudanese. Don't judge them because of their tribes, because of their regions, because of their clans. Give them a fair chance. Every single society has great people and criminals. It has honorable people and it has dishonorable people. Every single clan, every single tribe, every single region has all of these things. The problem in South Sudan is you have a criminal system where criminals are the one on top. And because these criminals have nothing to offer to the nation, they are using division. That is the reason why you see terrible things continue to happen, and there is no even real nation building, no real reconciliation, no real truth and reconciliation process that has taken place. It's because those who are running the nation are not interested in that, because the division works for them. They want you to remain in your sections, they want you to remain in your tribe, they want you to remain in your regions. And that is why you see with our president in particular, he has always held on to the Dinka as basically the source of his power. He always hold on to Baragazal as the source of his power. Right? It's not because he cares about the Dinka, and it's not because he cares about Baragazal. He just used them as tools to keep himself in power so that he can loot the nation, the way that he has been doing for the last 19 years. What has he actually done for these people? Has he provided them any protection? You saw what happened in Biar. And it was wonderful to listen to the interview of the chief administrator of Choldeng Alat. And he mentioned clearly, since this thing has happened, the government, national government, has never reached out. And President Kirk always, oh, Barghazal. He has never even reached out and see what he can do to solve this problem. Only the other day that he's now called the SPLM leaders from Barghazal. This conflict has been happening for years. Why now? All this time, what was he doing? You know, the other day, you saw the disarmament that was happening in Gondokoro. And people are killing themselves. A deputy chief administrator, someone who is at the equivalent of a deputy governor, was killed brutally by unknown gunmen. And he's going to go and disarm people in Gondokoro. You can't even go to deal with that. No condolence message to the people of Biar. No condolence message to the victims that have been killed. And it was the same thing last time when there was attack from Biar to the doors of Twitch Mayadit? Nothing from the president. Whenever South Sudanese people kill themselves, nothing. And then last time when he came here to New York to give a talk at the UN General Assemblies, giving condolences to people in Morocco. And then there are people in South Sudan that has been suffering through violence, through flooding, through all kinds of calamities. He doesn't even issue a single message, doesn't even visit them. Why? Because for him, he sees people of South Sudan not in their human nature. He only sees them as tools that he can use to protect his power, and especially Dinka people and also people of Bahr Ghazal. So if we are going to overthrow this government, the way that I know that we should, we have to get rid of this regime because it is always using division. As I said last time, when Agar was fighting and when those of Apuk and Agwok were fighting, President Kiir himself, he went there and told them, my people, why are you fighting yourself? If it is fighting that you like, here is Nuer. Here is Nuer. Go and fight Nuer. And he's supposed to be the leader of everyone in this territory called South Sudan. And he's telling his people, the Dinka people from Bahr Ghazal in particular, to go and fight Nuer. Last time, when there was a massacre of Dinka civilian in Bor by Murle, at the funeral of the mother of Deng Dao, the MP from Twitch, who was previously the acting Minister of Foreign Affairs, he came. He was the guest of honor. And he said, my in-laws, because his second wife, Achol Philip, the mother of those of Thik and Anok, he said, my in-laws, you are running away and you are carrying a spear. You are carrying a spear. Why don't you just stand and spear? Basically telling the Boer community to go and arm so that they can fight with Murle. As we speak today, there is a fighting going on in Duke County between the Murle and the local youth. This is the president we have. This is what he thrives on, to create division, to create hate among the people of South Sudan. It's not within his nature to reconcile and to embrace the whole nation as his people. He's only embraced the tribe and the region. Last time when he has the disagreement with John Garang in 2004, what did he say? He said, people of Bahr Ghazal have suffered. He's the deputy of John Garang, has been deputy for more than 10 years. Instead of talking about national grievances that are affecting the SPLM, that are affecting the people of South Sudan, he went and said, people of Bahr Ghazal have suffered. That is it. So he is a tribal leader, he's a regional leader. And he just happened to be sitting in a national seat. That is why the nation is disintegrating. Because the person who is there that is supposed to be the custodian of the nation, that is supposed to be this stationary bandit that protects his people, that invests in the ability to produce, that is able to tax them fairly, is not doing so. He's only like a tribal chief. Can you believe this nation will move forward under such kind of leadership? No. This nation will disintegrate. And when you see our brothers from Equatoria fed up, some even now calling for independence from South Sudan, does that even bother him? No. What does he do? To humiliate them more. Like what happened in Gondokoro. What happened in Gondokoro? He sent in the military to go and humiliate chiefs, innocent farmers that are there. Disarm them, beat them, humiliate them. These are chiefs. They are leaders of people. Can anyone that is really objective, if you are really objective, can you see this? Really? Will you be happy if this was done to you? Being human and the core of our humanity is to put ourselves in the shoes of others. If we cannot put ourselves in the shoes of other people, we cannot move forward as a people. Today, the power is with the Dinka, particularly the Dinka within Bahr Ghazal. This is where the president comes from. Look at Tiger. It's probably 90% from Werap. 90% from Werap. No leader anywhere in the world does that, because he only think of himself from the tribal mindset, that only his own people can protect him. He doesn't consider South Sudanese people as his own people. So he, by default, emphasize and exaggerate all the differences that are among South Sudanese people. He entrenches regionalism, he entrenches tribalism, he entrenches sectionalism. Even us now, many Dinka from Upper Nile, they feel that this government doesn't belong to them. Look at the top big business, you have to put quotation on this, businessman. Those are Bolmel, Kurajing, Makirgai, Bang Mayen. Where are they all from? They are from a certain region. They're all from Bahr Ghazal. Why there is no Nuer tycoon? Or a Taposa tycoon? Or Anuak tycoon? Are you telling me that there is all the business wisdom is only with people from a certain region? It's because this is done deliberately. Deliberately. This president does not want the nation to reconcile. You only use division. You only use regionalism. You only use tribalism. You only use sectionalism. Even now, imagine last time when they say Paul Malonga I has defected and he has formed a rebellion. All the innocent people from a will suffered. If you are arrested, you're taken in Blue House, you're basically dead. You are taken at night to Luri, hacked to pieces, you are killed. So in his mind, if the leader of that particular section, is upset with him, then the whole section is guilty by association. That is the way he thinks. And that is the way he orients those around him. He has been surrounded by tribal psychopaths that are unwilling to solve real issues that South Sudanese people are facing. And all of us, we are expected to quiet. That is why in that terrible mind of his, when I speak like the way I'm speaking today, as a political leader that is concerned about the direction that South Sudan is taking, he will go and say, talk to his family, talk to his clan. What about me and my political parties? I have people from his own One Chan that are with me in my political party, from all over South Sudan. But in his mind, everything is tribal. Everything is clan-based. Everything is regional. South Sudan cannot move forward like that. Power changes. Kiir is not going to be in power forever. And those who are defending him, those who are eating now, today, from this government that are making money, they come from all over. And every time when I speak, I try to make sure that all of you understand that the problem is not a One Chan. Even people from a One Chan are victims of this regime. They are victims. This so-called airport that is being built in Lil Majak is being used to loot the nation in their name. The nation is being mobilized indirectly against them. Kiir doesn't care because he doesn't care about them. But they know that Kiir is creating a huge problem for them. A huge problem for them. They are victims. The same way with people of Gogrial. They are fighting each other. Kwaj is fighting with Agwok. They're killing each other. Twitch Mayadit is killing, they're fighting with Biar. They're killing each other. Marial Wow community is fighting with a Pungirithik. They've been armed to the teeth, killing each other. The same thing in Tony. They're killing each other. So there is nothing that he's actually doing that is helping these people. But he will come here and claim that this leadership is for them and only use them as a tool to come and defend his regime. Matianganyor is all finished. Is he taking care of those who are wounded? Is taking care of their families? Those who have died? No. He doesn't care. Because that was never his intention. He never cared about them. So this is what is happening. So my people, to change this regionalism, it starts with us. To change this tribalism, it starts with us. Let us not give these leaders, these terrible leaders like Kiir, let's not give them the room to continue to manipulate us and turn us against each other. Let us realize that this nation is so rich for all of us. If you want to be rich, like some of our brothers that have become matokrap, if you want to become rich, this nation is fertile. The land is fertile. Underneath it, there are all kinds of resources. Gold is there. Oil is there. Diamonds are there. Uranium. You name it. All these resources are under South Sudan. It's a large country, the size of France. We are only 12 million. With better management, with sound management of resources, this nation can be united and it can become prosperous. And that starts by us shunning division. There are people that say the Barghazal people are the ones that are looting the nation. No, Kiir is using selected individuals, like some of the tycoons that I mentioned to you before. These are selected individuals that Kiir used to get money. Like the money that Bolmel get, he doesn't keep it by himself. Large percentage of it come back to Kiir. The same thing with Kurajing, the same thing with Bang Mayan, the same thing with all of these guys. Makir guy, all of these people, Kiir used them to loot the money and then he come and take the money. That is the way he has been doing. So it's not those people in particular that are getting rich. If you look in Juba today, all South Sudanese are suffering. All South Sudanese have been reduced to beggars. And those who are begging the most right now on the street of Juba, they actually come from Dinka, and especially the Dinka of Barghazal. So if they were the one getting all the money, they wouldn't be begging on the street. And that is why I keep mentioning that this president is only using these people. He pretends to care about them and to care about their issues only to protect his own power. And we have to remember that, my people. Let us not allow this division to continue so that because of Kiir, we begin to hate Barghazal. No, Kiir is one individual. Barghazal has produced a lot of great leaders. And there will be more great leaders that will come from this region. Kiir is a one failed individual who has become so difficult. Like I understand where people from Awan and people from Gorial, how they feel. They are made to feel like they must defend Kiir. And if they don't defend Kiir, then they are seen as not loyal. It's part of how the biases that I was talking to you about tribalism, the stereotypes about tribalism and duty to one clan and one section are manipulated by political leaders for their own benefit. So many of these people are victims. If they don't support Kiir, they are seen as traitors. They are not standing with their leader. They are not standing with their people. So we have to educate them for them to understand that they do not owe Kiir any loyalty at all. Because what he's doing is destroying the nation. He's destroying the good name of Barghazal, the good name of Werap, the good name of Gogrial, and the good name of Awan Chan. They have to know that he's a source of shame for them because of how he has governed the nation and how he has managed himself. There are great leaders from Barghazal. There's no doubt about it. I live with some of them. In my movement, there are some of these young people that I know tomorrow will be future leaders of South Sudan. And they come from Barghazal. So it's not about the region per se. What Kiir is doing is just manipulating the region to defend him so that he can maintain power. And we have to be aware of that. So when we, like for example, in other tribes, hate Dinka, the same way that Kir is using Barghazal is the same way he has been using Dinka. But thank God the rest of the Dinka is beginning to wake up. In Upper Nile, most of the people now have woken up. They know that Kir was just simply manipulating them and creating division so that they themselves will be fighting his wars. They will be fighting wars that belong to Kir. Now they are aware of that. The same way people from Barghazal are now waking up. And they're realizing that Kir has only been using them to fight his wars, not to do anything that is for their benefit. Because why is it every single year they're getting poorer, they're begging on the streets, people are starving, people are sick, there is no hospital, they say the road is being built, the road is not going anywhere, single rain come, the road cannot pass. Like what happened a few months ago in November. In November, the whole road could not function for days because of rain. And hundreds of millions of dollars have been taken in the name of that road. Is that not a fruit alone? You know? So let us be conscious about how we can convince each other to really see the truth. Huh? It's not easy to see it. And there is this mindset that has been created that if you have relatives in the government, then somehow you should not oppose the government. Why not? Why not? Who is supposed to oppose the government? If what they are doing is against your values as a person, then you have a moral duty to oppose it. And it's better if it is the elite themselves are the one opposing the government. So my people, let us not be shy of that. Let us oppose this regime. Whether your family is in it, even Adut, except Adut is getting all the contracts, so she has no reason to oppose it. But I'm sure there are other relatives of Kir that see that what is going on is not good. And it's not good for the nation. It's not good for the name of their family. It's not good for the name of their clan. So they have a duty to oppose this regime. And we should not wonder, why would they oppose the regime? Even Kir's son today, if he come out and oppose this government, we will embrace him with all our heart. The same thing with son of Riak and the son of Waniiga, the son of Kwalmanyang and the son of whatever. But there is this mindset that has been created that if you have relatives in the government, then you cannot talk because those relatives are eating on your behalf. I have my own mouth. Who is going to eat on my behalf? It's only me who can eat on my own behalf. There's no any other person that can eat on my own behalf. So we cannot be made to defend this regime because our relatives are part of it. Our relatives are independent people. My father is in this government. He's an independent person. I am not responsible for what he does. I am only responsible for what I do. So you cannot then allow yourself to be used or to be arm twisted because you happen to have a family that is in the government. That is how tribalism, regionalism, and sectionalism are entrenched in the mind of the people. And we must free ourselves from them. That is the only way we can give South Sudan a chance. That is how we can transition out of roving banditry and establish a functional stationary banditry in which we can extract taxation from our citizens, but use that taxation to improve their lives. Not extract it the way that Adut is the one that is collecting the taxes now, Adut Salva Kiir. And she takes the money and put it in her pocket. Maybe she gives her dad a certain percentage. We don't know. But it's quite possible because Kiir Mayadit is like, I was giving an example last time. You know, there was the story of how the lion, the hyena, and the fox, they went hunting. When they went hunting, they kill a rabbit, they kill a gazelle, and they kill a giraffe. So after they kill all these animals, now they sat down. And lion asked the hyena, hyena, you distribute this kill that we have made among the three of us. So hyena, thinking that he was being fair, he said, okay, fox is small, so fox, you're going to take the rabbit. Then me, hyena, since I am medium size, I will take the gazelle. And then the lion will take the giraffe. The lion was not pleased. He hit the hyena in the head very hard. Then he said, fox, distribute the food, distribute the kill among the three of us. So fox realized that something was wrong in the distribution that the hyena made. So now he thought very quickly and he said, okay, Mr. Lion, king of the jungle, here is how we are going to distribute. The rabbit will be for your breakfast. Lion, this is for your breakfast. Then at the lunchtime, you will eat the gazelle. And then now, after you have taken some nap and you have relaxed for a bit, you will now eat the giraffe. Then the lion said, yes, excellent. This is the way the distribution happens. This is a great distribution. That is what Kir Mayadit is. Kir Mayadit is that lion. All the people of South Sudan went to the bush to fight for this nation called South Sudan. And when South Sudan now became independent, when ministers like Agaga Achwil are trying to distribute the resources fairly, you start complaining. I don't even know the amount of money that is in the coffers, right? Because for him, the goal that South Sudan has is for his breakfast. The water of the Nile, and the land of South Sudan that he has sold to Kenya and Uganda, that is his lunch. And then his dinner is the oil. That is why all the contract must go to Bol Mill and all these corrupt people so that the money come back to him. All the resources are for him. And that is the kind of finance minister that Salva Kiir will accept. He's the finance minister that will distribute the kill the way that the fox distributed, making everything that was killed, that was hunted collectively by everyone, to belong to the lion. Kir Mayadit is the new lion in South Sudan. And he's using tribalism, regionalism, sectionalism to make sure all these resources are at ease. And we must oppose that. We must get rid of him. How do we get rid of him? You are part of the answer. You have the ability in your own way. Whether you are a soldier, you have a way. Your gun is a tool for liberation. Whether you are a journalist, your pen is a tool for liberation. Whether you are a priest, your prayer is a tool for liberation. Whether you are a politician, each and every one of us has something to contribute. And it's up to you to choose the method that is best fit for us to remove this guy in 2024. This is the year we are getting rid of him. So my people, overall, let us remember that the destiny of South Sudan is in our hands. And the only way we can allow this nation to prosper and to emerge is only by coming together, working together. It's only by freeing ourselves of the biases that entrench sectionalism, tribalism, and regionalism in our mind. And because of that, if we reject all these divisions and these biases, leaders like Kir will no longer continue to manipulate us. But if we hold on to those biases and we hold on to this propaganda that is pushed out, that this is our government because our relatives are in it, South Sudan will not move anywhere. So let's make a resolution for this year to remove Salva Kiir from power. And that starts with you. May God Almighty bless you. We have gone on for too long than we expected it. But this was a very important topic to talk about. And we will continue our series on Sunday. And we will go back to our schedule. We normally do Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursdays. So put them in your schedule so that you continue to participate. Once again, share the video. Whether you are a Magtograp or you are a patriot, share it with your people. Maybe some people will go and agree with you. Make your own video. I know there are some people that make their own videos. I encourage you very, very strongly. Make your own video, whether you agree with us or not. Say whatever you want. Share your thoughts. Make comments. And let's continue the conversation. 2024 is the year of freedom. May God bless you. And we continue with our conversation. Thank you very much.